Oh man, I haven't picked up the camera in a couple of months. I don't even know where to start. What's up guys? Hope you're all having a good day and welcome back to the videos where today I'm going to be introducing, I don't know whether it's going to be a big part of the channel or a small part of the channel or whether it's going to be flipped within a week or whether I'm going to sell it like every one of my cars after 2 years. I don't know. I bought a new car. This is something that I wasn't expecting to buy at all in the slightest. I'll be honest, I've looked at these cars for a fairly long time. It's a kind of weird mix of all of my cars combined into one extremely slow piece of shit. I won't call it a piece of shit because I've certainly owned some interesting cars, not gonna lie. But yeah, this will be car number 7 for me. 24 years of age. Haven't exactly owned many cars, but this is, yeah, number 7. So I've currently got 3 cars in my possession. We got the Civic back, which is sick. Got the RX-7. I'll show you guys the Civic. I don't know if you can see it. I don't really want to show you too much of the car because it's sitting literally just there. But we got the Civic back. We got the RX-7. And now it's time to put I don't know. You guys all know the R33 was one of those cars that I picked up super cheap and I wanted to track it. And ever since they got so crazy in price, I just couldn't fathom, you know, taking it out on track and accidentally writing it off. It was a really nice car, it was fun to drive, and I enjoyed that so much as a street car, but it lacked just something. It just lacked something, and I don't know what it was. It was a beautiful car, and it sucks to see it go. I miss it more than I miss the Falcon, and I still don't know to this day whether it was a good idea, but at the end of the day, Sarah and I both want to do things in the future that requires money, and that money does not come from assets just sitting here. So I don't know why I put it up for sale and it's sold. Placing that with a different car has been super difficult because the used car market at the moment is absolutely ridiculous. Cars that were selling for $10,000 are up now around 25 to 30. I couldn't fathom paying that type of money for a car that I knew I wanted a couple of years back, but just couldn't get myself into. So once I sold the 33, I started the hunt for one of these cars. And originally, I did not think that I would ever buy one because the asking price for them was ridiculous. And the model that I wanted and the color that I wanted just wasn't something that I was willing to front $25,000 to $30,000 for. So originally I wasn't gonna buy a car. I got the RX-7 and I have the Civic, and you know, I just wanted to keep that money in the bank that I got from the R33 so we could potentially get a house in the future. Unless I could find something that's extremely cheap, was exactly what I wanted and worth the money. So what did ZacBaldy do? He did a typical ZacBaldy thing and he went out and found the cheapest car on Facebook Marketplace with questionable history. Yeah, it just seems to fall into place. Introducing my new Subaru BRZ. Why did I buy the R33? Because it was, because it had a questionable history once again, and it was cheap. Why did I buy this thing? Because it was questionable history, and it was cheap. It seems to be a thing with all of my cars now. I buy stuff that needs a little bit of work, and I think this is the first car that I've ever bought and just driven straight off the bat non-stop, and I absolutely love it. Anyway guys, right here, right behind me is my brand new 2012 Subaru BRZ in the World Rally Championship Blue. Now, originally I was not going to buy one of these cars simply because so many people have modified these things into just disgusting looking things. I love the chassis. I do like the way that they look. I don't exactly like the 86. Well, I'm going to walk you through a lot of these things when we go for a drive in just a second, but there's so many things that really needed to fall in place when I bought this car, and I cannot believe that I actually own this right now, because for the price that I paid and everything about this car, I'm about to tell you guys, I still cannot believe I picked up this car for such a deal, such a steal. So anyway, I got my GoPro. We're going to jump in the car, we're going to take it for a bit of a drive, and I want to tell you guys a little bit about the car because I love it. I think it's sick. But there's a few things about it that I don't like. All right, so yes, once again, I have managed to snag myself a Subaru BRZ. Sorry, it's a Scion 86 in Bayside Blue, for all the purists out there that really want to know the technical specs of this car. I'll be honest, there are so many red flags about this car. So many red flags. So, yeah, just want to tell you guys a little bit about this car. It's got 117,000 Ks on it. It was the cheapest I could find off Marketplace, and it does have a bit of an interesting history. But not really stuff that I was stressed out about, because I've owned cars like this in the past, and they've been completely fine. So first of all, I want to let you guys know that this car right here I managed to find. Let's just say, if people are asking around about 25 to 30 for this car, I found it at about half the price of that. Now, I'm not going to say the actual price, because my original intention was to get one of these really cheap and see if I can fix it up and flip it. So yeah, and yeah, there's a few little things about it that you guys probably aren't going to like the fact that it's stock and slow and horrible, but it just suits me in so many different ways. So I really want to tell you guys about that whilst you're in the car and going for a drive. So first of all, the car is a repairable write-off in the past. Back in 2020, it had a crash, a front end crash, where the headlights, the front bar, the radiator was all damaged and the car was written off. Now, back when these cars were like 10 grand, pretty much as soon as there was a front crash or anything along those lines, and it was like 75% or 50% of the cost of the car to repair it, they would just write it off. So going out and inspecting the car, I was half expecting the radiator support and none of the holes to line up and the panel gaps to be horrible, but it's actually insane how clean this thing is. So I'm pretty stoked that I managed to find this thing. And then also, this car came with no service history whatsoever. I basically well, actually, I'm going to tell you guys about the story, because this is quite funny. Let's go for a bit of a drive. So first of all, I went onto some 86 forums when I was having a look about a month ago, and I was on the forums for about 2 days. By forums, I mean Facebook pages. Pretty much, I jumped on there and I said, hey, what do you guys look out for when you're looking at 86s and BRZs? And the amount of people that said you can't get anything older than a 2015. I said, why can't I get anything older than a 2015? And it was like 5 comments straight up of people saying you can't get a loan for cars older than 2015. And you should see the amount of people and laugh reacts I got when I said I was paying cash for this car. It's quite funny. So yeah, I don't know, I think I was just on one of those bad forums, but I was in it for about 2 days. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I know there's a few like mature pages out there, which I've now joined, much like the 86 and BRZ Club of Queensland, where they do a lot of track days. But I think I just joined one of those like P-plater groups where basically everyone told me that I couldn't get a car older than 2015 because I couldn't get a loan for it. So yeah, I thought that was quite funny. How good's the rain? 86s are actually fast in the rain. I joke. In terms of the whole BRZs, 86s, Scion FRSs are slow, yeah, they are. I'll be completely honest, it's slow, right? But in terms of having a decently modern, lightweight, slow car that feels like it has enough power for the chassis, I really dig it. I really dig the slow factor. And I know that sounds completely stupid, but it's kind of like the whole Mighty Car Mods purity, all that sort of thing. It's a fun little car. And say it handles well means you don't have enough power. I don't know, yes, maybe so. As just a daily driver, which is what this car was kind of half supposed to be, I'm really, really stoked, because it feels like a great little zippy run around daily. It's nice and light, it's beautiful and planted. It's honestly one of, in comparison to the RX-7, it's a very, very similar handling feeling. It's very low, it's a 2-door coupe. So a few things that I really wanted. I'm not interested in 86s whatsoever. I think the front bar looks a little bit weird. I didn't exactly like the whole pointiness of the front bar and how angry it looks. I like the BRZs, however, there was only one color that I really wanted, and that was the blue. Now, the blue's fairly sought after. and I couldn't find anything with around 100,000 Ks for under $25,000. So to pay about half of that, I was pretty stoked. Once again, with the history, meh, I was a little bit on the edge, but I'm glad I picked it up. So yeah, I didn't want an 86, I didn't want a BRZ if it was any other color than blue. So the fact that I managed to find this thing in Brisbane, relatively close to me, was about an hour down the road, I was really happy about. So yeah, I'm gonna count that as a win. And I wasn't gonna buy one of these until everything fell into place. And everything fell into place around a month or so after selling the R33. So I'm really happy about that. I now have what I think is a perfect mix of every single one of my cars combined. So theoretically, this should be the most perfect car I've ever owned. And it's getting there slowly but surely, but we'll have a bit of a talk about that. Man, this I don't know if you guys can see right now, that is ridiculously high. It's currently flooding in Brisbane again. What's new? Once in a century flood, second time this week. Pretty crazy. So looking at this car in comparison to all my other cars. So what I really wanted in a car, one of the reasons I sold the 33 was because it was a brilliant track car. I had so much fun in that car. It sounded great. It did everything I wanted it to on the track, and it was great fun. However, one thing that I've always wanted to do and one thing I've always looked up to is the people that can go fast and slow cars. I really respect good drivers that can smash my times in a car that has half the horsepower. And that is something that I really wanted to get into. I want to start doing a lot more track events where it's more grip orientated as opposed to drifting, which I found that I didn't really like. So I started doing more grip events, and these chassis pop up everywhere. Everyone loves the 86s and BRZs around Brisbane. They show up everywhere. I was lucky enough to get in one and go for a bit of a passenger ride, and I loved it. I loved the fact that it was modern enough that it was still comfortable, but you know, the manual transmission and how mechanical everything feels, it's a brilliant feeling little car. So track orientated is a massive big tick in my books. So taking a little piece out of the 33 is the track orientatedness of it is there. Now, in terms of the Falcon was one of those cars where it was super comfy to drive. However, I think the power that I had in my car was a little bit too unpredictable and a little bit crazy in that chassis. However, it was one of those cars that I could just jump in and drive to Melbourne if I wanted to. I could wake up one morning and go, screw it, let's go for a 12-hour drive. Go down to Sydney, go see some friends, come back. No worries at all. The Falcon would go downstairs, I'd start it straight up, and it'd drive. So, however, one thing that I really wanted to do with that car was always do grip events, and having an automatic and the power that it had for that little tiny track at Lakeside, I just felt was a little bit too overpowering for that car. Plus, I didn't feel connected to it because I'd learned to drive manual at that point in the 33, and so I didn't really enjoy that. I love the fact that you can floor this thing in second gear in the wet and it doesn't spin. So yeah, there you go. It's a little piece of the Falcon as well, because the Falcon was modern enough that it was comfortable to drive and I could get in it, and it was reliable enough that I could drive anywhere. So we're taking a little piece out of the Falcon that, you know, you have a modern, reliable and sort of comfy car. So it was one of the things that I was always lacking in the 33 was, you know, every time I got in it, I couldn't listen to music because there were so many rattles and the speakers weren't that great, and I just couldn't do a few things in it. Like if I wanted to drive to Gold Coast to go see Tom and Ashley, or go see James Nolan or Xavier or anyone down south, I always was like, I would love to, however, it's just such an effort in the 33 because it had a bucket seat, it was loud, it was rattly, and just I'd get there and I'd feel tired. It just wasn't a very enjoyable experience. I wasn't turning corners. It was built to, you know, I sort of built it to drift it and have fun on the track, and I wasn't really enjoyable on the highway. So we're taking a little piece out of the 33, which was the track side of it. We're taking a little piece out of the Falcon, which was the fun, enjoyable, and nice experience on the highway. And then we get to the RX-7. The RX-7 is so much fun because it is so small. And this car here, I actually believe it's lighter than the RX-7. It still sits really low to the ground. It's a really fun chassis. It's so direct. I've never felt a car that's so direct before in my life. This is the only car that I could imagine would compare to the RX-7 in terms of zippiness and just everything else as well. So now we're taking a little piece out of the RX-7, which I love about it, is the smallness and the zippiness and everything about that car. So now the only thing that I think we're lacking about this car is the power that it has. And I'll be completely honest, I, at the moment, am loving the power that this thing makes. A lot of people say it's slow, and I'm a connoisseur for slow cars. I didn't want anything over 400 horsepower in my RX-7 because I didn't want to be skating all over the road. My R33 only had like 270 horsepower for the majority of the time that I had it. I want to learn to drive a slow car fast, and that is the entire goal for this car. So there are so many of these cars around, they're so popular, and I can understand why. After driving this car around for a week, I have learned to love this thing so much. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So for a car that I was supposed to get just to experience and flip, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I love it. I want to do a lot of driving in it. I want to put a lot of Ks on this car. I want to learn how to track it. These cars are so capable, and the aftermarket support is so vast that I think that this car is a great addition to the channel. And I know it might seem a little bit stupid because there's so many people out there that shit on these cars so much, but I can 100% guarantee that if those people that called these cars stupid jumped in this passenger seat at the track, and I challenge anyone, 100% come up to me and let me know. Because if you are keen, if there's something you guys want to see done with this car, please leave a comment down below and let me know what we should do with this thing. I think the goal for it at the moment is I actually have some lowering springs already. I tried to get the most stock example of this car that I could. So the car is 100% stock apart from the wheels. I actually have a full set of stock BRZ wheels that I got with this car, so I'm pretty stoked about that. So this car is 100% stock. It did come straight piped. It was disgusting. He came with the stock exhaust, thank God. As soon as I got it home, I jacked it straight up on the driveway and ripped out the exhaust and put the stock exhaust back on. So much better. For some reason they welded the tips, like the 86 BRZ tips, onto it, and I had to get the grinder out basically as soon as the car got home in the rain. I started grinding those tips, got them off, put them back on this exhaust, and it's so much better. But yeah, it was so dumb. So dumb. So this car is 100% stock. Stock suspension. We'll look at it in the way of stock wheels because we do have stock wheels sitting there, but it doesn't really matter. Engine wise, it's 100% stock, so I'm stoked. Second gear pull in the rain. Didn't spin. Well, there you go, guys. There you have it. This is my 2012 Toyota 86. I'm gonna piss so many of you guys off doing that, but no. It's actually in really good nick. The paint is questionable, but there's all the paint there. It just needs a really good polish. The headlights are all faded. Someone's actually tried to polish them in the past and they screwed it up. It looks like they've used 80 grit sandpaper on it, but we can get all that out. The wheels all have gutter rash, every single one of them. The car isn't tinted at all. We have a full set of BRZ wheels just chilling down there. To be honest, I kind of like them better than the Hustlers that are on it. Now, here's one of the really cool things about the car. You can sort of see the bumper has very slightly different paint. That's the only noticeable difference about the car. It turns up a lot worse on camera, but also painting a bumper on plastic is always going to look a little bit different because it looks the same on the rear bar. The rear bar is the same. So I'm understandable about the front bar. I knew it's been in the crash, and for the price I paid, I don't really care too much. But yeah, walking around the car, It's in really, really, really good shape. And one thing I actually found out about this car was it's one of the premium pack models. I have no idea. Apparently, I didn't really do too much research on it, to be honest. The 86 has a GT and a GTS model, and then the BRZ, I think, sits just below the GTS model, or equivalent to the GTS model. However, there's a few things about this car that I really like. First of all, well, one thing I do have to find is, if anyone knows where to get one of these, I told the guy that I bought it from that I was more than happy with replacing this. I have no idea where to buy these, and apparently they're expensive, so I wouldn't have a clue. Hopefully someone can just 3D print one. First of all, it's got keyless entry, which is pretty sick, which I'm really stoked about. Apparently it's got the good seats in it. I wouldn't have a clue. I just sort of got the car. It's a 6-speed manual, and it's also got a massive big joying head unit. Now, it's just a cheap Chinese brand. I don't like it, but it's full Android, and it plays Bluetooth music, so I'm pretty stoked about that. The first car that I've had that's actually had a decent Bluetooth music thing, so stoked. 6-speed manual. Also, this is number 98. Apparently when they started bringing the BRZ into the country, they numbered like the first 500 or 1,000 or something like that. Mine's number 98, which is my birth year. So everything just fell into place, didn't it? It's got the alloy pedals. It's got a few other little touches. It's got the digital dash sort of thing. So yeah, it's actually apparently a good... So apparently this is a really good spec. It's sort of got a few premium features on it. It's got the keyless. So yeah, I'm really stoked. We managed to pick up a pretty good deal. And yeah, I hope you guys really like it. Anyway guys, once again, as I said, if there is any videos you want me to make on this car, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see. The next plan, I think, is to lower this thing, because there is one thing that I really wanted to do to this car. I think these cars look great with a set of lowering springs and a set of wheels. It's already got a half decent set of wheels. I can't lie. You guys all know that I'm a big fan of my single spoke wheels. My single elegant spoke wheels. So I'm just going to keep the Hustler GTs on there for a little bit. They're decent wheels and it'd be fine for the track. It's got some decent tires on there. So I think we're going to lower it a little bit, and that's pretty much where we're going to keep it. We are going to go and take this thing to the track and then go see what it needs from there. In terms of an exhaust, I don't want to put an exhaust in this thing. I think these cars sound terrible with an exhaust. So it's just going to take a little bit of time for me to find a nice quiet exhaust that will help me hear it a little bit, but also not take away from the drivability of this car, because once I put an exhaust in this thing, and if it's too loud, I'm not going to want to drive it on the highway, which is one of the reasons why I bought it. So at the moment, it's still a stock exhaust. I'm probably going to keep it that way for a little bit. Until I can find a really quiet aftermarket exhaust with, is it unequal length or equal length headers or something like that, that removes that torque dip thingy that everyone talks about. And 100%, it's a real thing. Like between 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, this thing is so weird. But yeah, aside from that, we're going to take it to the track. We're going to go do a couple of grip days, couple of drift days, and yeah, just enjoy this car for what it was made for. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Peace out.